They just went and checked his cervix for the first time, and he's already 3 centimeters dilated, 80% effaced. They were so impressed. He is doing such a great job.
Hello guys, welcome back to the Mad Box. On this channel we talk about the craziest, wildest, most bizarre stories happening in America today. So in this video, I'll be talking about a belief that is becoming more and more popular, that men can have babies.
It doesn't mean that we don't have...
Can men get pregnant?
Depends. I know.
What does it depend on?
I know trans men that can get pregnant.
That means it's a woman.
Now back in the 1960s, such a belief would only have existed in a mental asylum. But fast forward to 2023, and it's on television, on social media, and even in our politics. Oh please, God help America, because it gets a lot worse. So a few months ago, this YouTube channel by the name of Jazeera released a mini documentary type video called "I'm a Pregnant Man in an Anti-LGBT State." Yeah, you can tell this one's gonna be a roller coaster ride.
I have been in the hospital since about 1:30 a.m. on Monday morning. Baby and I are being monitored. All is well.
This man is preparing to give birth in one of the least LGBTQ plus friendly states in the US.
So right off the bat, I disagree with the framing of things. Notice how they call this person a man rather than a transgender man. It may seem like a very small, subtle difference, but the impact is pretty big. Like, these people really want to pretend that both men and women can give birth, but anyone with half a brain knows that only women can do that.
In a state where some of their government officials say things like,
"No to biological males in women's sports. No to biological males in women's shelters, locker rooms, and showers. And no to transgender medical treatments for children."
I love how these people pretend that being against transgenders in women's sports and being against children transitioning is some sort of extremist position. In a state where their politicians say things like, seriously, there are legitimate concerns about whether or not biological males and female sports creates an unfair advantage, or whether or not children have the mental capacity to make life-altering decisions to their body. But I have a feeling that the woman narrating this documentary is trying to create hysteria.
What was it like being pregnant as a man?
Again, the framing of that question is problematic because it insinuates that men can give birth, and of course, they can't.
It was very emotional. It was very physically challenging. I mean, even the process of getting pregnant was uncomfortable. Having to ovulate and menstruate, that brought a lot of dysphoria to me, but it also made me more comfortable with my body.
And this is the problem with things like this. As you can see, Jamel is clearly uncomfortable with the idea of ovulating and menstruating, maybe because this person knows that those are things that only biological females can do. And by going through that process, they are reminded that they are indeed a woman.
Jamel having to go into the hospital and having to have an F on his band because the medical system hasn't upgraded to be able to take care of trans people the way that trans people deserve to be treated.
The issue that I continue to have is this false belief that by transitioning, you have completely become the opposite sex. And of course, that is not true. And for those of you who disagree with me, think about it this way. Trans people in America make up less than 1% of the American population. Not a single biological male is able to give birth, while not all, but most biological women can. So why in the world would Jamel be classified as male in the medical system where all people giving birth are women? Make it make sense. And let's think about illnesses that only affect women, like ovarian cancer. If a transgender man had ovarian cancer and didn't know it, I think it would be very necessary for doctors to know that this person was born female so that they can check for that. I think that's something that this documentary fails to account for.
Jamel also felt anger and anxiety during his pregnancy.
If I'm a man who is menstruating, does that make me a man? It made me question my identity. Well, how does the world now see me? How will they see me? Will they understand who I am?
Bro, I seriously cannot take this. I feel like back in the day, the hardest questions involved mathematics, physics, and even how the pyramids were built. In America today, the hardest question you can ask is whether or not men can give birth, whether or not men can menstruate. It's just so ridiculous, and I know China, Russia, and North Korea are laughing their butts off.
What did that feel like for you to have to stop taking testosterone?
I felt like I was losing a part of me. It felt like a big sacrifice. Like I was sacrificing my identity to bring forth our family.
But of course, in America, we have to play this ridiculous game of not associating people's biological functions to their sex.
Pregnant women are celebrated. Trans people are not. And to be a pregnant trans man just made me feel vulnerable in the world.
I don't think people necessarily celebrate biological women giving birth. I think they simply acknowledge that it's a very important process in human development, something that we need to prolong the existence of our species. And I don't know how being trans and gender nonconforming fits into that. And I know they're trying to make it seem like all people can give birth, but like I said, biology always wins. America is the land of the free, home of the brave, and in this country we have the freedom to do things that are impossible to do in other parts of the world, which is why this is such a great place. People can do whatever they want that makes them happy, and they have the right to do that. I don't have a problem with that. The issue that I have is the twisting of words around, the shredding of biological reality and basic facts and definitions to push a political agenda. If this had just been a documentary about a transgender person who had been giving birth, I would not care. But it's the insistence that this person is actually a man that is what I have a problem with. Because with a lot of these things, it can't just be, oh, this person is trans, oh, this person is having a baby. It has to be men have babies. It has to be men and women can have babies. And as we know, that is not true. At the end of the day, Jamel was born a woman and will die a woman biologically. They can live their life as a man, and that is perfectly fine. But biologically, this person will always be female. So no, men cannot have babies. Only women can do that. I don't care if that's offensive. Oh, God, I hate this topic. Alright guys, that is it for this video. Let me know what you think. Can men have babies? I know that's a silly question, but here we are asking it in society today. Hopefully my next video is a little bit more common sense.